Wait a minute. Okay, what's your name?
My name is David Stocker.
Okay, and where are you from? New Orleans?
Orleans.
And how old are you?
I'm 42.
42. And what instrument do you play?
I play keyboards. I play some guitar and bass as well.
Okay. What's your special, what's your favorite instrument?
I like keys and guitar the most. I mean, I'm more musical necessarily than I pick a specific instrument to master. So.
Okay. And what style are you, are you most comfortable with?
It's a bunch of styles, different styles. I grew up as a kid with rock and roll, 60s, 70s rock, and then I got into classical. I studied composition at the university, and then I had for many years here in town, I had a progressive rock band that I wrote for.
Oh.
And
what you call them?
Hobson's Choice was the band. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Specializing in 70s English prog.
Okay.
So it's largely a blend of classical and rock aesthetic, really. Long epic songs, nice, going places and coming back. So I mean, nowadays I'm doing a sideman gig, playing piano. So it's more roots music for New Orleans.
Okay.
Roots rock and roll and roots New Orleans music.
Okay. If there's something that would characterize the New Orleans sound, what is that? I mean, what
Rhythm.
rhythm?
Yeah, rhythms. Rhythms of the Mardi Gras Indians, funk rhythms. I worked as a sound engineer as well for many years, since I was about 17, 18. And I had a long stint working with the Funky Meters and George Porter, Art Neville.
Okay.
Those rhythms of the meters, zigaboo, drum style, going even further, Earl Palmer styles. Jazz, blending into Caribbean, blending into funk and rock. It's a real rich, fertile ground. It, specifies there are some, real specific New Orleans rhythms that, some drummers learn to play around here.
Okay. Now, what about the life of musicians here? I mean, it seems like this community. I mean, what's that like? I mean, how does that work?
Seems like?
It seems like it's a community. The musicians around here, very.
Yeah, there's a lot of sense of community within musicians. Sure. I mean, for some of us who share these kind of gigs here, like the one I'm at today at the Balcony Club, and a lot of the area here on Frenchman Street, we know each other. We certainly hang and talk to each other.
Exchange information on gigs and what have you?
Sometimes, sure. I mean, there's healthy competition here too, so it's not all. I wouldn't. Through my years growing up, I wouldn't classify it all as one big happy family.
Right.
There's definitely some sense of cutthroat and elbow people out.
Right.
You got to show your chops, but that's an historic thing musically. You talk to older guys too when they came up. They had to go through that as well.
Wow. Have you been to other cities or seen the musical communities
there?
Sure.
I lived in New York for a couple of years. I've toured as a sound engineer extensively and somewhat as a player as well.
Right. It doesn't seem like the music community here is different from that in other areas, other cities?
I picked up on this a long time ago, and I kind of still hold to it today, which is New Orleans is unique in my opinion, because musicians are allowed to play a whole bunch of different styles. I'm playing roots and rock today, and tomorrow I may go play a Zydeco gig, and I know a little bit about Zydeco, but I've heard enough, and they'll accept me as a player. I may go play, sit in on someone else's gig, and you get exposed to a lot of different styles in New Orleans, and if you take your time, you can get really good at all of them, and it just broaden your musicality. Where in other cities, if you're doing some gig, you can't walk on somebody else's gig if they know you're, hey, you play with that band, and that's not the kind of music I play. It's like, no way you're sitting in with me because you don't play my style. So those kind of boundaries don't, are real fuzzy here. Anyone can play with anyone as long as you can play, and that's really all that matters.
Wow. Now tell me, one thing I've noticed, I've been here like a couple of days, and I've been to Bourbon Street, and there are a lot of clubs along Bourbon Street, a lot of cover bands there playing different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm here on French Street, and what I'm getting is a sense of is that the musicians who play Bourbon Street generally hang on Bourbon Street or stay on Bourbon Street, and the ones who play around here, they like to hang around here mostly. And is that true?
There's kind of a split. I mean, this area of the French Quarter wasn't always this popular. There have been years, some in the mid-'90s too, where Frenchman Street got a lot of press and a lot of attention. That sort of fizzled and changed and evolved. But since the storm and the rebuilding, Frenchman's been very much alive with music clubs. I live in this neighborhood just past the Frenchman area. It's called the Marigny. So
Okay.
a lot of times when I'm biking home, because I work here in the area as well,
Right.
you know, I'll pass 9 clubs within 2 blocks. And
Oh.
in each of those 9 clubs, there's a different kind of music played. And, you know, one note bleeds right into the next note of a completely different song. And in
Right.
some cases, I've rounded the corner from one club to the next, and it's 2 different bands playing the exact same cover, but completely differently.
Wow.
And that's, you know, stuff like that's just unique to me. I can't, you know, where would I find that anywhere else?
Wow. Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, you know. Bourbon Street caters to a very touristy crowd who are hanging at the hotels downtown.
Right.
Frenchman's much more of a hip artist kind of artisty center. You know, fighting to stay that way. We don't really want a lot of the attention down here because, you know, what it is right now is a very nice blend of, you know, good musicians who are getting the attention of locals, not necessarily getting the attention of, you know, sort of crazy tourist scene. You know, not to put down tourists. Everyone's welcome to New Orleans, of course.
I know what you mean. No offense taken.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I mean, I travel places and I don't want to be a tourist sometimes. I want to, you know, I want to know what the local scene is.
Yeah, that's I was trying to. Well, one thing I was wondering also, are there other scenes besides music, like scenes besides Frenchmen, besides Bourbon? I mean, are there other parts of the city that have
There
their
are
own
other
music?
pockets, sure. If you go uptown on Oak Street, you're going to find a club called the Maple Leaf. It has great bands all night long, regular bands who play regularly, like Papa Grows Funk. It's a local band. A good friend of mine, John Grow. His band plays there every Monday night.
Okay.
John tours. They're all over the place, but they're always back in town when they can be on a Monday night playing at the Maple Leafs for locals.
Okay.
You can get out beyond to the suburbs of Metairie and you'll find, you know, other music scenes. But when you get into the suburbs, it's different. This is very concentrated and it's
Right.
French Quarter based. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah, you can just turn a corner everywhere you go. There's a club.
Sure,
It's like,
exactly. And there's, you know, since I really noticed after the storm, the big influx of people who come to New Orleans. You know, partly to help rebuild, partly to, you know, I think to someone to see what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, what had happened to us and kind of feel it out. And for you know us who had lived here, we were coming back trying to pick up pieces. But a lot of those people who came here, surprisingly enough, picked up instruments. And I've seen since the storm, they've been busking on corners, and you know, you go throughout the quarter, Royal Street, you get into the middle of the quarter, and they're out there playing on the corner, and they're playing, you know, they're playing old jazz standards. They're playing torch songs from the
Right.
30s and 40s, but they're putting something new into it. In some cases, they're taking all these styles and kind of mishmashing hillbilly, country, bluegrass into jazz, into a little bit of rock, and they're really making something new out of it. So it's been 5-6 years of, you know, that evolution. So a lot of those players, some of the guys you're seeing now in the clubs here, they started out on the street, but they're in clubs now.
That's interesting. Do the sort of the more well-known musicians ever come play down here? Like
Absolutely. Snug Harbor, which is still down on Frenchman Street,
Yeah.
hosts, you know, the best of New Orleans jazz players, Ellis Marcellus, and, you know, a lot of younger guys who are studying at UNO.
Right.
Some of those guys play other gigs at, like, Maison, the younger students at UNO who are studying jazz study programs.
Do me a favor, stand over here. I can get the people coming by.
They're,
Yeah.
you can find a lot of those players at Maison, you know, working out their studies, working their craft,
Okay.
and playing. I mean, you can find big players down here. They sit right in with everyone else. Again, it's really, you know, who you are as a player and how you play that matters most to people. It doesn't matter that you're someone big and famous or you're someone completely unknown.
Right. Let me ask you just one question. I know you got to get back to your thing.
Sure.
The show Treme.
Yes, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I just thought I don't have HBO. You know, it's one of those things. I mean, friends tell me it's great, and I've certainly been around a lot of the film shoots here, and you know where they're.
Yeah.
I've had friends who have got guest spots, and I know Davis Rogan, who one of the characters is based on, known him a long time.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, you know, I think it's all good. You know, it's better than K-Bill.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Tell me your name again.
David Stocker,
David, how do you spell your?
STOCKEL.
Okay, what's the name of this band?
This band is Chris Polachek and the Hubcap Kings.
Okay.
It's a rhythm and blues review.
Can you spell everything?
Sure. Chris Polachek is Chris with a C-H-R-I-S.
Okay.
P-O-L-A-C-H-E-K.
Okay.
Polachek.
Okay. The reason I ask is because I know musicians.
Oh yeah, they see it wrong. They're gonna freak out.
No, not that. I said a lot of them try to do different things with names.
Oh yeah. True.
You know, like Hendrix Band and Gypsy used to spell it with a Y instead of IE. You know, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Understood.
yeah. Hey, listen, thanks a lot. I really
Hey,
appreciate
not a
it.
problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I get a card or something? Just